Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today I'm doing a quick recap and review for Series 12, Episode 6, Praxeus. So, right off the bat, we are once again on Earth, as it seems the writers of this series are trying to save money wherever they can, since every episode so far has been set on Earth. And honestly, I'm getting really tired of it. But it is what it is. And at the very least, this episode was shot in Africa, so it has some beautiful cinematography in it, as we jump from Peru to Hong Kong, and finally to Madagascar. We first meet an ex-cop named Jake Willis, whose life seems to be going in the wrong direction before he gets a text from someone named Adam, an astronaut who was just presumed dead after his Soyuz capsule went missing. And after sharing his location, Jake makes his way to Hong Kong to rescue him. And arriving at the building where Jake is being held, he runs into Yaz and Graham. Next, we're introduced to Gabriella and Jamila, two travel vloggers who have decided to camp out on a riverbank in Peru. But sadly, in the time since Gabriella was last there, the river has become completely overrun with trash. Still, the two decide to camp there until the next morning. And overnight, Jamila is attacked when she leaves the tent. When Gabriella wakes up to find Jamila gone, she starts to look for her and sees a dead bird fall from the sky. But as she goes to examine it, Ryan appears and warns her to stay away, as the strange activity of the birds is what brought him there in the first place. Ryan takes the dead bird with him to examine later, and the two of them make their way to the nearest hospital to look for Jamila. Finally, we meet Suki and Aramu, two scientists working in a lab on a beach in Madagascar, when suddenly the doctor appears and screams for help, as there is a man drowning in the ocean. The man they rescue is from a US submarine that has just gone missing, but before the man can say too much, a strange disease overtakes him and his entire body explodes. Ryan and Gabriella arrive at the hospital to find it empty, and they enter a quarantine zone to find Jamila dead, but infected by the same strange disease as the man in Madagascar. Ryan contacts the doctor to tell her what they found, and she quickly takes the TARDIS to them, arriving just in time to see Jamila explode in the same way that the first victim did. Meanwhile, back in Hong Kong, Jake is surprised to learn that Yaz and Graham are not there to look for a missing astronaut, as they tell him that they are there to investigate very unusual energy patterns that are coming from the building. They eventually find Adam, clearly sick, and connected to a series of alien technology. But upon seeing them, Jake tells them to get out, and soon, aliens arrive and begin to shoot at them. However, these aliens have apparently never shot a gun in their entire lives, as none of the shots even come close to hitting any of the people being fired upon. In fact, they manage to disconnect Adam and make an escape without a single shot hitting them. And Jake ultimately steals a gun from one of the aliens to take all of them down. Luckily, Jake is much better at using the alien guns than the aliens themselves. And there's even a moment where one of the aliens is about to get a shot off, but Jake somehow manages to see him, shout for everyone to get down, and then shoot the alien dead before the alien is even able to fire once. It's a little silly. The doctor appears in the TARDIS and attempts to get the alien's mask off, but for some reason she can't, so she gives up. They take Adam and Jake onto the TARDIS, where Ryan and Gabriella are already waiting, but Yaz decides that she wants to go back for some of that alien tech. So instead of just taking the TARDIS inside, the doctor gives Yaz an hour to look around, and Gabriella decides to come along as well, because that's clearly the option that makes the most sense. The TARDIS returns to Madagascar so the doctor can use the lab there, and we learn that Adam and Jake were married but are now separated. The birds that were acting very strange in Peru are now on the beach in Madagascar, so Aramu volunteers to watch them while the doctor and Suki try to figure out what's wrong with Adam inside the lab. They discover that his blood is infected with an alien pathogen, which is slowly killing him. And for some reason, Graham, who was married to a nurse and has just said that he knows how to put in an IV, has no idea what a pathogen is. The doctor tells Ryan to dissect the bird he found in Peru, and they discover that it's full of plastic, which the virus is using to feed itself. This alien pathogen that feeds on plastic first reminds the Doctor of the Autons, until she quickly rules them out. But I'm sitting here on my couch saying, why not the Autons? As having the Autons taking over humans by using the plastic inside their own bodies would have been a really cool story. And it's even worse considering the fact that they brought up the Autons just to disregard them. In the end, it turns out that this is just an alien bacteria homing in on microplastics because the Earth is full of them, and they are literally in everything: the air, the food, and the water. Meanwhile, Yaz and Gabriella see an injured alien entering a transport inside the warehouse, and they quickly decide to follow him. They are transported to an empty alien base where they find the missing US submarine, and they soon come across the dead body of the alien that they saw use the transport. This time, however, Yaz has no trouble whatsoever getting the mask off the alien, and they see that he too has died of the disease, though he is not exploded. Back in Madagascar, the birds are starting to go crazy, and poor Aramu is attacked and killed while literally no one cares. He is never mentioned again. The Doctor analyzes the disease under a microscope and realizes that she can use the naturally occurring Earth enzymes to develop a cure for the disease. But at that moment, Yaz contacts the Doctor to report back on what she's found, and she tells the Doctor that information is being sent from the warehouse in Hong Kong to 2 separate locations, one in the Indian Ocean and another to Madagascar. Suki then reveals that she is an alien, though a lazy alien that looks exactly like a human in every way, and after explaining that the disease is called Praxeus, she teleports away, and the birds enter the lab and begin to attack. After everyone runs to the TARDIS, the Doctor takes the cure that they developed and tries it out on Adam, and while they wait to see if it works, they take the TARDIS to where Yaz and Gabriella are, which turns out to be an alien base at the bottom of the Indian Ocean. As they explore some more, they find Suki once again, and she tells them that the dead aliens are the last of her crew, who brought the virus to Earth after their own planet was devastated by Praxeus. Since Earth is full of plastic, it was the perfect planet to use as a living experiment as they looked for a cure. Suki tells them that she has already sent the cure back to her people, and she has taken it herself since she was also infected. But the Doctor warns her that the cure was for humans, not her species, and sure enough, the cure ends up speeding up the disease and killing Suki. Which is weird because these aliens, again, look exactly like humans in every way. They didn't even bother putting green wigs on them like in Orphan 55, yet they were still apparently too dissimilar to humans for the cure to work. So, okay, sure. Soon, Adam and Jake meet up with everyone else as the cure was a success, and they decide to use the alien spaceship to spread the cure to the rest of the world. But of course, the alien autopilot isn't working, so they have to make their way back to the TARDIS. But Jake decides to stay and pilot the ship manually, dispersing the cure and saving everyone, but at the cost of his own life as the spaceship begins to break up in the Earth's atmosphere. Luckily, the Doctor is able to materialize the TARDIS around him at the last moment, and he is saved, which pleases Adam to no end as the two begin to furiously make out. The episode ends with the Doctor dropping Jake, Adam, and Gabriella off on the beach in Madagascar, and I'm here thinking, how are any of them supposed to get home from Madagascar? A plane ticket is going to cost a fortune, and Adam and Jake probably don't even have their passports on them. It seems awfully irresponsible of the Doctor to just leave them there, but oddly, the 3 of them don't seem to care in the least, as they all walk off happily together. So, overall, I thought this episode was once again one of the better episodes of the 13th Doctor, and it follows the recent trend of these episodes being far more palatable than Series 11. The episode itself looked gorgeous as we jumped from location to location, and I thought the worldwide scope of the episode really helped it to stand out from the rest of Series 12 so far. It actually reminded me a lot of the 11th Doctor episode, Day of the Moon, where we see Amy, Rory, and River all over the world on the run. The cast of this episode was fairly huge, as in addition to the main TARDIS team, we were introduced to 6 other characters. but at no point did it feel too bogged down. And surprisingly, all 3 companions actually get something to do in this episode, with Yaz especially taking the lead in what actually amounted to her character making a difference in the story. So, that was nice to see. And with the exception of Jamila, who died fairly early, the only character that kind of gets shafted is Aramu, as we never really learn anything about him, and his death happens while all of the other characters are busy and no one even mentions that he's gone. It literally never gets brought up. Like, was he working with Suki? Was he an alien too? Or was he just a poor kid in the wrong place at the wrong time? I guess we'll never know, because no one seems to care. While I would have preferred to see the Autons involved in this story, the Praxeus virus wasn't a bad plot device, and I have to admit that it looked very good on screen, both in the infected people and in the scary explosions that ended their lives. Overall, this episode just looked good, and the pacing was spot on. As for what I didn't like, it really seems like the theme this series is pollution and climate change, which is fine, but there is really no reason why every episode has to be set on Earth. Honestly, the same points could have been made on a completely different planet, with the Doctor comparing the situation to the one on Earth, and everyone would have still gotten the moral of the story. However, if they're going to continue this plot point, I'll be interested in seeing how it develops. Along the same lines, I'm really not a fan of lazy aliens, where they basically show us a human but tell us that they are an alien. There was a lot of this in Orphan 55, as none of those people could have truly been humans since the episode takes place in the age of Cassandra after the Earth is destroyed. But at least some of those people had weird green wigs on and whatnot. But in this episode, we're supposed to believe that there is an alien race that looks exactly like an Asian woman, but they aren't related to humans enough to have a cure work on them. It just seems so lazy. Remember in The Sound of Drums how there were aliens that looked human until the Doctor used his sonic on their shimmer device? You don't have to show the aliens all the time, but don't tell me that they look exactly like us when they had to go through 3 solar systems just to find us. I honestly see no reason to do something like that unless the episode had no money in the budget to work with for alien costumes. And when you're only making 10 episodes a series, that's kind of an issue. One last thing that bothered me was the fact that the Doctor seemed unsure at the end if she could save Jake, only to realize that she could materialize the TARDIS around him, which to anyone who's been watching the show for any length of time should have been completely obvious, as we've seen the Doctor do similar things many times. Ultimately, I was happy that she was able to save Jake, but her uncertainty in the situation didn't seem to line up with what we've already seen so far. At the end of the day though, this episode was one of the best of Jodie's time as the Doctor, and if we get more episodes that are at least this good, I will continue to be happy with where the series is going, especially with such huge plot points like the Timeless Child and the Lone Cyberman still to be resolved. So, for an exciting outing that looked beautiful and gave most of the characters something interesting to do, I'll give Praxeus 7 aliens out of 10. So that was my review of Series 12, Episode 6. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments if you feel like I left something out. I put out new videos every week, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and let me know if you have an idea for a compilation that you'd like to see. Until then, thank you so much for being my companions on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.